Okay, so we created our database server using AWS RDS, and now what we're going to do is restore a database backup. So in other words, we're going to get the AdventureWorks database up in this new database server that we created in Amazon RDS. Now, this is tricky. I spent a lot of time researching how to do this. This is the way I found to do it. There's lots of information out there that doesn't seem to work. Part of that may be because things have just changed over time. But in any case, we're going to start by selecting under the services, our relational database services. On the left, we're going to select option groups. And we are going to select create group here. And we're going to name it so I'll just doesn't really matter what we call it. Alright, the engine that we want is SQL Server EX. That's because we selected the Express Edition. If you were doing another version of SQL Server, you'd select the appropriate one here. You'll notice Enterprise Edition and the different ones that are there that you can pick from. And then the engine version, we did the latest one, which is 14.0. So we'll go ahead and create that. So we return to the option list here, and we are going to check the box to the left of SQL RDS Management, the option group that we just created. And then we're going to select Add Option here. So we're selecting the option group that we just created. We're pressing Add Option. And it should already have SQL Server Backup and Restore selected. And under IAM role, we're going to make sure that's selected as yes. This is the screen that seems to be causing most problems in how to configure this. Okay, we're not going to be able to restore our database from our local hard drive. So we've got to get it up into the Amazon environment somehow. And the way that Amazon wants you to do that typically is using S3. Think of S3 as basically just a big file system out there that you can use that's private to you. So we have this S3 bucket down here, and this is where we're going to put our backup that we can restore. So click Create a new S3 bucket, and you give it a name, and these are unique. So we are going to pick Create Bucket. And this bucket name has to be unique within S3, so in the region. So this is a little bit trickier. So it has to be unique. So SQL RDS admin 01, let's say something like that. It'll tell you if it's not available. And once you've done that, press Next. And leave the defaults on this screen and hit Next again. And Next, and then just hit Create Bucket. Okay, then click on the bucket that you just created. And go ahead and upload your backup. So my backup is on my local hard drive over here in the trash folder, AdventureWorks 2014.back. So 44 megabyte backup. We'll just click through all these defaults and then just hit upload, and then we'll wait for just a second. It's going to go ahead and do the upload down here, so it's uploading that database backup. Now, if you only have one bucket out there, what I've noticed is that it's Amazon seems to have a bit of a bug in one of the screens that we're going to come to where we need to pick the bucket that our backup's in. And so if you only have one, what I found is you have to create a second bucket even if it's empty so that that pick list will come up. And I'll show you where that is here in just a minute. So I'm going to pause this while it finishes uploading. So it's done uploading. And you can see the backup file out there. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can close this tab. It opened a new tab and we told it to create the bucket. So now we should find, and we need to refresh this. And there's our bucket right there. And you'll notice there's some other buckets out there. And what I'm saying is that if you only have one bucket and you pull this list down and don't see anything, go create another bucket and then this will show up. I just think there's a little bug in this pick list, and hopefully they'll have it fixed by the time you do anything with this. All right. Now, leave the encryption alone. Under apply immediately, select yes. If you don't do this, it could take some time for this to go ahead and take effect. And then hit add option. Let's see, I need an IAM role name, so I didn't put that in. So just fill that in. So it'll add the option. Okay, then make sure you're back on the RDS and select the instance. So that would be this one here. Let's see, our instance is this AWS RDS instance. Click on that. Under the instant actions up here in the upper right, select modify. And change the option group that's listed. Now it created a default option group, and you need to change that to the new option group, which has the ability to do backup and restore. So, looking down through here for option group. Right here, you want to change that to the one we just created, which is the SQL RDS management. Press continue. And right here, again, if you leave this selected as the default, it's going to apply this action in the next scheduled maintenance window. Remember, Amazon is helping you manage this. So I'm going to select apply immediately on this and select modify DB instance. And then go back to the instance list here and refresh. And it looks like that's already modified. So now we should now we have our database up in S3. We have it connected to our database instance so that they can talk to each other. That's what the option group was doing. So now we're ready to actually do the restore, and we're going to do that through the actually through a script. But before we do that, Let's go, we're going to need our S3 name. So let's jump back over here to services and go down to S3. And it is this SQL Server Admin 1 right here. So this, we got to remember this when we do this restore. Okay. All right, so back in SQL Server Management Studio, what we want to do is do a new query with this database selected. I like to just click around and make sure we still have our connection there. It looks like we do. So this is the command that you're going to need to execute. Exec ms db dot db dbo dot rds restore underscore database and restore underscore name. It's at restore underscore db underscore name is equal to AdventureWorks 2014. That's the name that we want our database to be called. And at S3 underscore ARN underscore 2 underscore restore underscore from equals AR single quote ARN colon AWS colon S3 colon 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 and then the name of your S3 bucket, which was SQL RDS admin 01 SQL RDS admin 01 slash AdventureWorks 2014.BAK single quote. So let's just go verify our this is the name of the file. This is the name of the bucket or the folder. And that is the command that should do the restore for us. So I'm just going to go through that with you again really quick. So it's exec space msdb.dbo.rds underscore restore underscore, I missed an underscore here, database at restore underscore db underscore name equals AdventureWorks 2014 at s3 underscore arn underscore 2 underscore restore underscore from equals and then single quote ARN colon AWS colon S3 colon 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 SQL RDS admin 01. This would be whatever you named your bucket / AdventureWorks 2014.BAK. So if that's all good, oops, so we need a semicolon at the very end of that. So put a semicolon on there. And you actually can have this broken up into multiple lines. So I'm going to do that so you can see it all. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and hit execute. Okay, I typed something in wrong. Oops. What I missed was a comma right here. So a comma right after that. We'll execute that. Okay, so it says it's executing the query. And so down here it says restore DB. So it's off executing a task. So you told the Amazon RDS to restore the database. And you can find out what's going on with this task by simply typing in so for any tasks that you have being executed in RDS. Now, in SQL Server Management Studio, if you highlight a command and hit execute, it only executes what you've highlighted. So I don't want to execute the restore again. That's already in progress right now out in Amazon. What I want to do is just execute this little task status that'll tell me what's going on. So I go ahead and tell RDS, hey, what's going on? And here it says I'm doing a restore and it's in progress. So if you get any errors, you'll see an error here and you'll have to go back through the steps and see if you missed something. So you can keep clicking execute on this just to see when it's done. The alternative is you can do a refresh over here and the database should show up in your list. So we'll do that next. So it still says in progress, and I'm going to right click and hit refresh over here. And there it is. And it says it's in recovery, so the restore is happening. That's great. Let's just execute this one more time. Still says in progress. If it takes much longer, I'll pause so that you don't have to sit here and watch this all happen on my machine. Hopefully you can read that command okay that I typed in. So I'll pause this, and when it's done, we'll come back. So we're checking the status again. You'll notice over here the icon's changed, so I believe it's done with its restore. It comes back and says success. If you see anything other than success on this task, you probably missed a step somewhere. You'll need to go back and fix that. Remember that SQL Server can't usually restore databases from newer versions of the database. So I recommend that you just have everything, it usually does a pretty good job of bringing in older versions of a backup. All right, now if I right click on this database and select new query, so I now have a fully populated database out there in Amazon RDS. So I'm just going to expand this database. You'll notice it's a little slow. I mean, it's having to go out to Amazon to grab all this. But you are connected. Also, remember that you're running on a really small server. So it's not going to be real snappy. If you want to spend some money at Amazon, you can get something that performs a lot better. Well, let's just go see if we've got persons out here. So I'm just going to right click on person. So it's having to communicate back and forth with RDS. Okay, so we are going to tell it to do a query here. We're just going to have it select the top 1,000 rows from the person table. So we'll let it do that. Okay, so here's a select statement from our table, and you can see that we've got data out there. So that worked great. So we were able to set up our database so that we could restore and then issue the command through SSMS to do the restore after we'd uploaded the backup to our S3 bucket. So hopefully this helps you do a restore up there, and The one thing I want you to be aware of is that when you're running smaller servers, especially the T series of servers, which this was a T2, what happens is that you get a certain number of CPU credits, and as you're not using the machine, those CPU credits build, and then as you use the machine, those CPU credits go down. The one thing you need to be aware of if you use the T2 micros or the T2 series is that if your credits your credits expire or you use them all up, then you get throttled. So just be aware of that. That's what you have for the free tier, but if you're doing some work with the free tier and you notice some throttling, it might be that. Normally, if you were running in production, you'd go ahead and run a normal, a larger machine. And we usually wouldn't use a T2 for a database server. But the advantage of Amazon is you can switch those machine types out, and that's really what gives you vertical scalability along with horizontal scalability for your app servers. So that's it, and hopefully this video was useful to you. The next video we'll do will be how to get our .NET Core RESTful web service talking to this database. So that'll be running in Linux on AWS EC2, talking to an RDS Microsoft SQL Server database. Thanks. Like the video, please. Share it and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.